jails is what I call them. I had a speed and agility company, you know my background in the NFL, and I always give my athletes like quotes, motivational words that inspire, you know, because those workouts can be kind of hard, especially when you're a professional athlete. And her son plays professional lacrosse here in Atlanta for the Atlanta Blaze. So he says one day, you know, you and my mom, y'all talk alike and y'all think alike, you guys should meet. I was like, yeah, what is she doing? He said, you know, she's doing some leadership development work. And I was like, nah, I'm not really interested in that kind of stuff. But I love her son. He's a great kid. So I was like, well, let me just sit down and talk to your mom. So we had lunch and she explained to me what she was doing. And it was nothing like I thought. Like I came in with these preconceived notions of what it was gonna be. And it was almost completely the opposite. We come through the leadership development door. My experience with this is it's been more life development. And it's changed my life drastically from a standpoint of where we all have stress in life, right? Everybody's stressed. Most of us have, and some of us have more than others. And it taught me what this program taught me, it gave me the tools to handle my stress. Right, so I can honestly come here and tell you that very rarely do I stress anymore. And when I do stress, I have tools to kind of talk me out of it. You know, because what it is, it's a new way of thinking. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But really, the more you do it, the more peaceful you become, the more calm you become, the more confident you become in yourself. And it's just, all you have to do is change the way you think. And I should say that's all you have to do because that's hard. Right, because we've all been thinking, whatever way we've been thinking, we've probably been thinking that way our entire lives. Right, and there's something in the way that we think that isn't working. And we have to change it. Right, the only person that can change it is you. We'll get into that in a second. So, we were sitting down one day and we were having a marketing meeting and we were talking about who needs the bio code system. Right? Jill Ratliff was in HR for 30 years, so she dealt with a bunch of CEOs, and she was like, every CEO in the country needs this. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense, I can buy that. And then, the more I went through it, I was like, no, you know who needs this? Every coach and every player in the country needs this because there's a disconnect with coaches and players where everybody wants to win, right? And sometimes coaches yell and scream at players. And it's probably not the most effective way to get guys to perform, right? And then the guys who are being hollered at, they take things personally and they're not getting better, right? So now it's a lose-lose, especially when we're on the same team, right? The goal, if you're on the same team, is everybody to win. If we're on the same team, half you can't win, half you can't lose. It's not like that. I played in the NFL, and if defense has a bad day, and the offense has a good day, but we still lose the game, the offense doesn't win, the defense loses. We all lose as a team, right? So we're all on the same team here. So that was my initial motivation. And then it dawned on me one day. Not one day during this meeting. I was like, you know who needs this? And I come from Syracuse, New York, really small community. And just like a lot of places in the country, the Black community is struggling. Right? And I was like, you know who needs this? Everybody in my community where I grew up needs this because, like Dr. Jill said earlier, nobody's coming to save us. If we don't do it, it's not gonna happen. I don't know what we're waiting for. But what we're doing is not working. And unless we take control of our lives, take responsibility for our lives, stop blaming other people or other situations for why we're not where we need to be, then we can change. But that change has to happen individually for each person. One of the first things we teach is that in order for this program to work, the only person that has to change is you. Period, end of story. That takes a lot of work. Looking at yourself in the mirror honestly and having a discussion with yourself about where you're lacking or where you can be doing more, or where things are not happening the way you want them to happen, you can change that. And that's a tough conversation to have in the mirror, me included, especially me. And I've been doing this work for 2.5 years, about 2.5 years, and everything's changed. But at the same time, almost nothing has changed, which is kind of weird, right? Everything changes, but nothing changes. Because once you change, everything else outside of you changes. And the way you look at things change. And once you look at things differently, your whole life changes. All right, so that's what we're going to work on today. This is what we're going to talk about for a little while. I'm going to give the story over to Dr. Jill, who has a remarkable story. This is actually her program. You know, from the bottom, she started this. And then Dr. Jill Ratliff came in and was like, hey, we can do something with this from a business standpoint. But she's the brainchild behind all the steps. So I'll let her tell her story.
You can sit, we'll just pass it.
Okay.
Stay back and forth. Okay, so pretty inspirational already, yeah? Would you say? Yeah. And that's a big statement coming from somebody who's achieved as much as Dorsey Levens has achieved. You know, to have the mental toughness to get your game up to a certain playing field, to be able to win a Super Bowl and more, takes a level of thought and takes a level of behavior. And interesting enough is when he started learning what y'all have these little cards, right? That's the program, that's it. Called the biocode system, and obviously the word bio means life. These are the life codes. And it's what to do, not when things are going well. You know, who the heck needs help then, right? You know, but who's really teaching us what to do when things are not going according to plan. So when Dorsey started learning the biocode system, interesting enough, he started noticing points in his day that used to hijack him, whether it be an interaction with traffic, or whether it be an interaction with somebody would say something or someone would annoy him, and he started to see that these biocodes were teaching him the skills, much like a workout program, to start to take his game to a higher and higher and higher level, till eventually he got so comfortable and so excited about this program, instead of thinking like, I need to take my problems away, he would wake up in the morning and go, bring it, let's go, push against me. Yeah, it was just such a game changer, such a different mindset. And we all know, Einstein said, when you change the way you see things, the things that you see start to change. So, right? So is life the problem? Is the playing field the problem? Is it what happened to us in our past the problem? Or is the problem that we, as athletes of life, never really got a good tool, skill set of what to do when things are not going according to plan? So when life comes at us, and it does, this is the game we're all playing, right? What do? We prove, we protect, we justify, we defend, we play the victim, we blame. But are we really taking on those moments and accepting responsibility to become stronger than that situation? I think not. I think it's a missing skill set. So I'm going to give you a very brief overview of how this body of work even came to be. So I've been in the health and healing profession since I'm 23 years old. I'm 58 now. That gives you a little measure of how long this has been going on, right? And very holistic minded person, drinking my carrot juice, eating my veggies, saving the planet, doing my thing, right? And I'm married to a guy who is pretty much the same. Well, you know, sometimes in life you pick your situations. Like, hey, I think I'll go talk to these beautiful, beautiful people today. And sometimes in life, situations pick us. And most often when they pick us, we usually don't want to like raise our hand and say, hey, I want that one, right? Like, yeah. The ones that pick up usually come by some form of stress, by some form of pain, by some form of challenge. Would you agree? How many of you have felt that? Oh yeah, on a daily, right? Yeah. Well, July 4th, 1996, y'all might remember that year because it was when the Olympics came. Right? Were y'all living here then?
Yeah, I was.
You were, right? Okay, well I was too. Well, I had, my two kids were 2 and 5 at the time. Now they're big people, 24 and 28. They're big people, amazing big people, big souls, doing really good in the world. Well, anyway, we had just moved into our neighborhood where I still live today in East Cobb, not far from where y'all are. And I was at the pool with the kids, and my husband had picked up a basketball game to meet some guys in the neighborhood. Yeah, right? Man, watch out what happens, those unexpected twists that come your way.
Yeah.
Come rushing to get me. It's Danny. He fell down, had a grand mal seizure. Come, hurry. My neighbor grabs my kids. I rush over there, and he's laying there, out of it. Well, rushed him to Northside Hospital. Y'all familiar with that hospital? Yeah. They go, the panic, red lights, bad, horrible stuff. They come, they get me, and they look at me like this, and they say this. This is the words that came out of this doctor's mouth. He's 35 at the time. I'm so sorry. He has a malignant brain tumor. He's not gonna make it. He's got about 5 to 7 years to live maximum, no matter what you do. Talk about force. Talk about things you don't raise your hand. Hey, I think I'm gonna sign up for the malignant brain tumor school of learning. Nobody raises their hand for hard stuff. Y'all didn't raise your hand for hard stuff. It came to you. You didn't go after it, right? You didn't say like, hey, I want some challenge to grow. Throw me into this category. Nobody raises their hand. But there I was in that situation. So Miss Holistic, what did I do? I ran to every white coat on the planet. Tell me something else. Surgery's not gonna work. It's inoperable. Chemo and radiation will wound it, buy him some time, but it will come back with vengeance and kill him. Unanimous, straight across the board. What do you do? Well, I know something. I know anything's possible. And I don't believe everything I hear. And somebody can tell me something and it doesn't match what I know deep within my soul and whatever. So I'm sitting there at home after several days of panicking, because you can't panic over big stuff like that. We're talking about life and death. We're not just talking about like, like, should I go this or do this? Should I have this sandwich or that? Like, this is the big questions in life. So there I was, standing by the kitchen sink, and a feeling like no other came over me. And it was a feeling of peace. And I knew. And I said, Danny, not only are you going to be okay, but we are going to help so many people because of this. Well, I'm happy to announce that Danny's alive and well and cancer-free and has been for all of these years. Right? So our 3-year journey of figuring out how do you do this was insanely beautiful. It was crazy and stressful and all the emotions that go in between that. And after I thought, because you really don't know what things like that, time is really the only indicator of if someone's going to live or die with something when you're taking on a different approach, a different way of looking at things. You really don't know until years pass by. But about 3 years later, I was really missing my life. I've been with people. I've been one-on-one. I've been helping individuals my whole life. I landed on the planet to help people. That's my purpose. I was born this way. Day one. So I was missing my life. Well, of course, 5.5 seconds later, my phone rings and says, Jill, I know you're not working, but could I come over? My back hurts. Could you help me? I'm like, come over, rush over. Well, not long, I started to get phone calls, but not from neck and back people, not from ordinary issues. I got calls from cancer patients. We heard your story. Could you tell me, my brother, my friend, this got diagnosed with cancer. Could you help me? I'm like, listen, I'm not a cancer doctor. I can tell you how I stayed strong in it. I can tell you my formulas. I can tell you how I navigated this. But I can't tell you how to heal cancer. So they would come over and I would teach them what we were calling back then was the formulas. How do you stay strong enough to separate yourself from your issues, from your situations, to be able to see clear enough to do that next right thing of whatever that might be. And you know what happened? People started to accept responsibility for their life and they started to get well. Well, it wasn't long before someone was saying, you know what? My wife, she didn't have cancer, but I really feel like this could help her. And my kid's struggling in school. He didn't have a big issue, but I think this could help him. And in no time, what I realized was it was never about cancer. It was about life. And when we all learn the skills to accept responsibility for our life, regardless of what's in front of us, that the problems really never are the problem. The problem is we don't have the space, we don't have the strength, we don't have the know-how because we never learned how do we start to approach whatever's in front of us from an empowered place to be able to see clearly. So fast forward, I was doing those for years and years and years when Jill Ratliff called me, my CEO now, and she said, Jill, something terrible has happened. My brother was diagnosed with cancer. We've known each other for most of our lives. Come over. She said, please, 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 will you help my brother? I said, I would be more than happy to help your brother if he wants my help. But I really feel like I could help you. She looks at me like, this is a big shot in the whole world, handling her life, everything. She's got a great family, great kids. Everything's perfect for her. She goes, me? I don't have cancer. I go, you are in no shape to help anybody unless you get centered in yourself. Well, she agreed. Within not even 3 weeks, would you say?
Not even.
She started seeing what I was doing. And she said, Jill, these skills, everybody on the planet needs to know this. I'm like, I know. She goes, no, you don't understand. Everybody on the planet needs to know this. I'm like, I know. She goes, no, you don't understand. She's like, Jill, everybody on the planet needs to understand how to do this. I was like, what do we do? She picks up a stack of paper. She looks at me and she goes, just start talking. 2.5 years later, we took all the content that was in my brain of how I was helping people to take responsibility for their lives and turned it into a system that anybody on the planet could accept responsibility for their life from where they're at, no matter who they are, no matter what state, no matter what condition they're in, no matter what situation they've been through. It teaches you how to start to develop yourself through the moments in your day. And nobody has to change other than you in order for it to work. So today, we can't teach you the whole program, but the good news is we got Kay Butler here, right? Hey, Kay? Who the reason why I'm here today is because she did some of this work and taught some of this work to her group of women, and she said it was incredible, the responses that they were getting. She goes, what should I do? I go, just keep teaching it. Just give it away. Keep teaching it. And as a matter of fact, if you want us to come and talk, we'll talk. Whatever it takes to help people to be their best self and give them the skills. So we're not going to teach you the entire biocode system today, but you can talk to your advisors and request to get into Kay's class, and she will take you into an in-depth understanding of these practices of what you do in those moments, and we're not talking about the fun ones, to start to empower and strengthen yourself throughout your day. And you will be shocked when you start to change, like Dorsey said, how much changes around you. Because life is a reflection. of your strengths and your weaknesses. And it's time for us to take responsibility and build ourselves up. So y'all excited to learn some concepts about this today, yeah? Yeah. Bring it in. Yeah? Okay, you ready?
Right.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, Dorsey is going to start by teaching you what this new way of thinking is all about.
All right, I'm back. So, first, let me say, one of the side effects to learning the bio codes is that you want everybody that you care about, everybody you love to learn these tools. At least that's been my experience. So with that being said, maybe a month ago, I went back to my hometown in Syracuse, New York. So I taught my mom and my aunt who live here in Atlanta, the bio code system. And when I finished with my mom, she says, "Can you please teach all my sisters in Syracuse?" And my mom comes from a family, she has 11 brothers and sisters. Right, our family's still growing. My dad comes from a family of 8, so we got a really big family. But I say that I look out here, there's a lot of dysfunction in my family, lots of dysfunction. Everybody has struggles, right? We all have struggles. Everybody, without fail, even with all the success that I've had, things have never gone exactly the way I planned. Right? There's always something. There's always a roadblock, right? Something gets in your way. There's always an obstacle. But these obstacles, now we talk about looking at things a different way. They're not here to hurt you now. They're not here to hold you down. They're not here to hold you back. These obstacles are here to show you where you're weak and where you need to get strong. All right, so now when something happens to you, you're gonna look at it from a different angle. All right, this is not here to hurt me, it's here to help me. How is this gonna help me? But only you guys know that. I'm gonna tell you a quick story about how failure got me to where I am today. So I played high school basketball as well. And my junior year, no, my sophomore year, we won state championship. My junior year, we were 25-0 going into the state championship game. Game was, we were down by 2 with about 7 or 8 seconds left. One of my teammates shoots an air ball. I grab it, put it in. I get fouled. So the game is tied. 3 seconds left, I get one free throw. If I make it, we probably win the game. I missed it.
Wow.
I missed it. So we went to overtime, and we lost the game. I cried like a baby. You hear me? Like that inconsolable, sobbing, snot. You know what I'm talking about? When you just look real ugly and you don't care.
Yeah.
Because you're hurting that bad, you just don't care, right? But I felt so bad. I was like, how can I never, ever feel like this again? How? So I started training, and I never trained before in my life. I just played sports, that's it. Nothing outside of sports. There's no lifting weights, there was no extra running or jogging, none of that stuff. But because that happened, I started doing that stuff. So fast forward to my first game, my first football game as a senior. I hadn't played any more sporting events after that basketball game. In a football game, I scored 50 points, 7 touchdowns and 4 2-point conversions. And I went on to get a scholarship from the University of Notre Dame. But none of that happens if I make that free throw.
Okay.
None of it. So we're all gonna have hardships, right? Some of us probably feel like we have more than we need, right? So I say that to say, sometimes when things like that happen, things that are devastating, they're not. If you can find a good in anything, all right? There's always a good in something. You just gotta find it. But you gotta change the way you look at it. Right, so let's talk about some biocode stuff. So one of the first things we teach, like I said earlier, is that in order for this to work, the only person that has to change is you. And here's something I need you guys to understand, because if you don't understand this, if you don't grasp this concept, this is not going to work for you. The only person that you are capable of controlling and changing is yourself. That's it. That's it. You can't change. And how many of us have successfully changed ourselves the way we want to be? None of us, right? So if we can't change ourselves, how are we going to change somebody else? But a lot of our stress comes from trying to control other people or trying to control the situations. Right? It's been raining for the last, 3 days? Anybody upset about that? Kinda, right? Kinda. Let's just keep it real. Let's keep it real, right? Can any of y'all control the weather?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. So we worry about things that we can't change or we can't control. You can't change how other people act. For years, I've been trying to change how other people drive. Right? It doesn't work. Right? You try, nothing has worked. So I've come to the reality that if I can't change the way people drive, this is Atlanta, right? People complain about traffic all the time, right? That's a big deal. This is Atlanta, there's traffic, get over it. Every morning on a weekday, every afternoon on a weekday, or if you ride downtown on a Saturday, it might be a Georgia Tech game, or it might be a Hawks game, or a Sunday about. It could be traffic for no reason at all. But y'all know that, right? Because this is Atlanta. So armed with that information, with the facts, just the facts. This is a fact-based program, just the truth. So based on that truth, the next time you get in traffic, say to yourself, I knew this was gonna happen. So we're gonna look at it from a different standpoint, as opposed to cursing out the world or God because traffic is not moving the way you thought it was gonna move at 5 o'clock on the connector on a Friday afternoon. When does it ever move on a Friday? Right. So we look at things differently. And when we look at things differently, they change. So now our stress level is decreased because we're not mad at the rain anymore. We're not mad because it's too hot or it's too cold. I always tell people, if you don't want to deal with traffic, there's a small town in Wisconsin, Green Bay. And you'll deal with traffic 10 times a year, and that's only on Sunday afternoons. You have options. You don't have to stay in Atlanta and deal with the traffic. But if you're here, you might as well embrace it because you can't change it. Right? One of the things we like to think about a windshield wiper. Right? It wipes all of the raindrops around. So what if the raindrops are stress, trying to change other people, stuff that we don't necessarily agree with? Right? So what we do is we push all that stuff out the way, and then windshield wiper comes right back to the center, back to us. So now when everything happens, we don't focus on the things that are happening. We're focusing on how we feel about it. For this, my only goal was inner peace. How can I be peaceful on the inside? You have to control the way you think. You have to take responsibility for what you were thinking. You control your thoughts. You were the only person who can control your thoughts. This program is about you, yourself, and you. Those two voices in your head that go back and forth. Maybe this was me last night. Maybe you shouldn't eat that pizza. Well, you're gonna work out tomorrow, so maybe you should. Right? Those two voices in your head. That's where all this happens. That's where all this happens. Nobody has to know what you're thinking. Thank God. Could you imagine if people could hear our thoughts? Right? And with that being said, be careful how you talk to yourself. Because only you hear that in your voice, right? Only you hear what's being said to you. So be careful how you talk to yourself. Most of us, if somebody else talked to us the way we talk to ourselves, we would never talk to that person. But we don't do things the way, or things don't turn out the way we think they should, or the way we want them to when we start beating ourselves up. Oh, how could you be so stupid? How many times have we called ourselves stupid? I know I have. Maybe it's just me. Right. Be careful with that inner dialogue, because you believe what you tell yourself. You believe what you tell yourself. So let me ask you this question. What would you think about if you could think about what only you wanted to think about all day long? One more time. What would you think about if you got to think about whatever it was you wanted to think about all day long? Right. Well, guess what? You get to think about whatever it is you want to think about all day long because you control your thoughts. Nobody but you. But like Dr. Jill said, we got to take responsibility for what we're thinking and what we're seeing. Because nobody controls that but you. Right? So if there's any situation where you get upset, ask yourself, why are you getting upset? Just have that conversation with yourself. Just like traffic, right? Or just like rain. I've never been mad at the rain and it stopped. That's not happened. Right? So if you can't control anything, why are you worrying about it? Here's what I like to give people that I teach this to. Just for the rest of the week, just focus on you. All right? You don't have to fix anybody else. You don't have to fix the world. You don't have to fix the president. You don't have to fix the traffic. You don't have to fix the weather. You don't have to fix your cousin, your auntie, your uncle, your cousin, your dog, your cat, the weather. You don't have to fix anybody. I'm gonna give you the whole week off. You ain't gotta fix nobody on TV. You ain't gotta fix nobody on the reality show. You ain't gotta fix none of them. Let them be, right? Because you can't control or change none of them, right? So let them be. Let them be what they're gonna be. Because if you got things you need to focus on, or you want to change, or you want to fix, that's where your focus needs to be. Not on other people on TV. I always wonder why people scream and holler at the TV. Because you're trying to fix people, right? That's my grandmother when I played football, screaming at the TV. And when I'm outside, when I see her in person, I go, Grandma, you know we can't hear you, right? No matter how loud you scream at that TV, I can't hear you in Green Bay. I can't. So we focus on what we can change, what we can control, and that's it. And when I did that, my life changed. Because now I get to focus on what's important to me. Write down, if you have a pen and a paper, write down WIN. It's an acronym. WIN. What's important now? What's important now? When you find yourself trying to control the world or fix everybody, ask yourself, is that important to you? If it's not, stop doing it. You don't have to fix anybody else until you fix yourself first. How about that? You have to know you don't have to fix anything except you. That's going to free up so much mental space. It's going to give you so much clarity as to where your focus needs to be. Is this helping me get to where I need to be in life? And it has to happen moment by moment. Everything happens in the present moment. Everything that happened yesterday, forget about it. It's done. Nothing you can do to change it. No shoulda, coulda, wouldas. None of that. There's no time machines here. You can't go back and change anything. Right? So no more shoulda, coulda, wouldas. What can I do right now in this moment to make me a better person? To help me get closer to my goals in life? Is it screaming at the person in traffic in front of you? No. That's probably not going to cut it. Is it being upset all day because somebody blew the horn at you in traffic? Some people's whole day can be ruined because somebody cut them off in traffic in rush hour in the morning. When it probably happens every other day. And if you know what's going to happen, it happens every other day. I like to play games. If this is your life, and you get to think whatever you want to think, make it a game. Have fun with it. That's what I do. So when somebody cuts me off, I go, ha! I knew it. I was waiting for that. It's been 2 days and nobody cut me off. What's going on? That ain't normal. Right? What's normal? Normal is somebody's going to cut you off. And they may blow the horn and flip you the bird like it was your fault. Right? And that's another thing. Regardless of who's right or wrong, keep the conduct on yourself. Right? Regardless of who's right or wrong. And right or wrong is just a matter of perception. Right? We can both be thinking this, we can both look at something the same way. And we can both be right. Because it comes from a different perspective. Like if you're a Bears fan, Chicago Bears fan, I'm a Packers fan.
Yep.
You may think your team is the greatest team in the world. And from your perspective, that's true. I may think the opposite. And if I believe that, then it's true. Right? So technically, there really is no right or wrong. It's just what you believe. Right? So let's not worry about who's right or who's wrong. We just want to be peaceful on the inside. Because when we're peaceful on the inside, we can move towards our goal. We're not worrying about a bunch of stuff that doesn't really matter. Inner peace is the goal, right? At least that's my goal here. Focus on yourselves, regardless, because we get on this high horse. We always want to be right, right? For whatever reason. Maybe you feel like you're smarter than the other person for about 15 seconds. Or maybe you think that, that time you didn't fall asleep in science class really paid off because you know something is right. I still haven't gotten my prize for being right in the mail yet. I've been waiting on it my whole life. So if being right or wrong doesn't really matter, and only your happiness matters, or your peace of mind matters, then why should being right or wrong matter? Especially when if somebody believes that they're right anyway, and you can't change their mind. What's the saying? Never argue with a fool, because from a distance people can't tell who's who. You ever argue with somebody and you know you're right 100%? And then you get frustrated trying to convince them that you're right, and you can't convince them because their point of view is that in their mind they're right.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
It ain't no point. There is no point.
There's no point. I started letting people be right. That cleared up a lot of space in my mind. Because now I ain't got to argue with you about anything. You want to be right? Congratulations. Have a good day. All right. So that's the first concept. That's bio code 1. Focus on yourself. Windshield wiper. Wipe all that crap away. Bring your focus back to yourself. Regardless of who's right or wrong. Regardless if somebody cut you off in traffic. Regardless if somebody said something to you that you didn't like. And no more fixing it. All right, you got the week off fixing anybody. Y'all should be happy. That's the week before Christmas. So technically you get 2 weeks off. Right? All right, I'm going to bring Dr. Jill back up here and she's going to give you some more concepts.
How about that?